Namo Muni Buddha. So today we continue to discuss about the Honorable Truth, the second truth, the cause of sufferings. And we talk about the anger as well as the desire or greed. Last time we talked about how the big company they brainwash us, they indoctrinate us about their products so that we can buy their product uh, to uh, bring the profit to them. So that's why uh, somehow if we don't recognize, it's easy for us to be trapped in those kind of advertisement. And of course, it's based upon our duty too. They attract us by emphasizes on the things that we want to, not the thing that we need to. For example, they just say that, oh, we need to have the car, this brand name car, this cell phone, this house, and so forth, so that we can be happy. But actually, we just need the house to stay. We can need the cell phone to communicate with other people. We can need the car to commute, uh, to go here and there. Now, whether it's old or new, so they are just the means. So as long as we recognize that they just the needs for us to use them as a means for us to live and to be contented, we'll be more happy. We won't be uh, fall in the trap of those advertisements. Otherwise, if we don't recognize the needs and the wants, we fall in their trap easily. And of course, we are the one who pay for the price by working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and so forth to pay for those items, for cars, for cell phone, for house, and so forth. So that's why the Buddha reminds us that because of greed and desire, I mean that negative desire, that's why we uh, mm, harm ourselves and harm others. We create own sufferings. That is why the Buddha emphasized on the greed as a form of mental poisons that's so harmful for our earth. Most of the time we talk about anger. We have anger management in most big companies, but we have not heard any kind of greedy management. Of course, the greed is the way that people can drive the business. But again, in Buddha views, this kind of greed or negative desire may bring disaster for ourselves. So that's why we need to be careful when we don't recognize it. It may bring tremendous sufferings to us when we see that the vicious circle of craving, desire, craving, rush, crash. We have addition of food, drugs, and sex, and so forth. Here, let us review one more times about what we learned last time. So the wish to get more of anything is called the desire. That's different from the needs. We need to have the food to consume to sustain our body. We need water to substance this physical body. We need house to shelter ourselves from the cold and the heat. We need the car to commute. But if we think about all those things, like I need to have this type of brand name cars, brand name cell phone, iPhone, and so forth, that's not belong to the needs anymore. That the desire, the want, and the greed. So basically, the unnecessary desire for something is called greed. That means we may not need them, but because we want to satisfy ourselves, that's why we want to have more um, of new cars, more of a new iPhone, uh, and so forth. So again, greed is an extreme appetite of desire, and those desire are acute craving for more wealth, power, sex, and so forth. So here we see the charge. The greedy person realizes those desires by behaving impartially and unjustly. So here we see from desire of unnecessary, like the wealth, the power, the sex, and we may be impatient with those desire because we want more. The more we want, um, the more we seek for, the more we have, the more we want. That's we have what called unjust behavior with this kind of attitude. And here, when we act greedily, we would not recognize those unnecessary items, and we would not recognize our unnecessary desire, and we may wrongly assume that um, we want to have. So we may bring the devastation, disaster to ourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually. That's why somehow, sometimes it can be considered as for as the curse. So basically, greed based on the self-interest, self-benefit, it would not care much about other people. So when we have the kind of greedy mind, we would not control ourselves easily. We cannot sleep well at night. We cannot eat much. We cannot think clearly. Uh, and of course, in most situations, remind us that as long as we are greedy, there's no way for us to develop the spiritual life. So in Western tradition, it said that a greedy man uh, mm, cannot go to the heaven. It's like the elephants want to go through a hole of a needles. This is no way for them to go through because of that greedy mind. Again, we see all kind of problems to ourselves and others as much as we harbor that type of greed. So basically, it's some kind of greed that may consider the source of suffering, the source of karma, because we want to accumulate our wealth, because we want to obtain the power, because we want to dominate other people, because we want to satisfy our passion, uh, satisfying our relationship with other people. So in the Western tradition, it says that greed can be good, while other types of greed can be bad, but still, in Buddhist view, whether mm, uh, it may be the encouragement, whether it is stimulation, is still as long as we start with the leader mind as the starting point, eventually we may bring disaster to ourselves. So in Western tradition, we say that greed can be good because it is the most important incentive for people to work hard, to get education, to start a business, or to invest in a company. Yeah, for a worker, they want to be um, uh, manager, supervisor, uh, and they need to work hard to be promoted into those positions. Or if they want to get more bonus, yes, they may work hard. But still, if they cannot attend to those positions, or if they cannot get those bonus, they will be frustrated because at the first moment they have that kind of greedy mind. So even get uh, good education, like to become a doctor, engineer, so forth. If someone has that kind of greedy mind to go to school because of those goals based upon the reading mind, again, it be suffering for them if they harbor or keep that type of reading mind in their mind. For example, if they want to become a doctor because making more money, to become a millionaire, and so forth, at that moment, uh, they have the wrong intention to go to the medical school because as a doctor we have to have the conscience to provide the treatment for patients. Of course, we would get higher salaries than other people, but again, the responsibilities of a doctor is to provide the treatments to cure the illness and to help other people. If we based upon the money to go through all kind of medical training, that's maybe wrong motivations. So of course we know there's many doctors may get in trouble because of medical fraud and so forth due to their greedy mind. So if the purpose of going to school is to get more money, to be a powerful person and so forth, those type of motivation, you can say that may be wrong at the beginning, and of course toward um, uh, their professional life, they may encounter those type of problem again if they base upon the greed instead of helping others, instead of fulfilling their responsibilities as a professors, as a doctors, as an engineer. So even starting a business, if they have the greedy mind to be successful, to be on the top of everyone, to get the uh, rich quick, invest in any companies they want to get rich quick. What happened with that type of attitude or motivations? What happened if the things go against their wish? They be more frustrated. They bring their own sufferings. They may bring their own disaster if they could not get the thing that they want to. So that is why on the surface, people may think that greed is source of motivations for us to go to school, to start business, to invest in any companies, to start our profession and so forth. Still, that's harmful if we don't recognize this. And of course, it may be a motivations for people to uh, contribute to society, to communities by working hard or teaching hard and so forth. But if they don't recognize us kind of reading mind, and they just based upon the money, the power, eventually they may get lost. Eventually, they may not care much about the sentiments, the feelings of their own patients, of their own students, of their own employees, or family members. So they are slave of money and power or sex, because they don't pay attention much about others people, and of course eventually they will raise some karma that may bring them to the jail and so forth. So uh, if we have that type of thought, the thought that the really thought that we want to be successful, to be powerful, again it will lead us to the disaster sooner or later, because of that type of greedy mind. Of course, uh, for some people, if they have that kind of motivation, I mean that greedy motivations, after they even obtain or collect a large amount of money, wealth, and even they may retire early, but still they would not contribute much to community or society. They may use more resource than other people. But of course, that the common sense for people that, oh, I want to uh, get rich quick so that I can become billionaires, and I may retire early so that I can enjoy my life. But still, in common views, um, even they have accumulate sufficient wealth so that they can retire early. Still, they would not contribute much to society. And even those people after their retirement, they may invest their wealth or money in stock, bond, real estate, and other financial investment. Uh, but still, most of the time, they still want to uh, get more fund, more wealth, or more power for themselves. And of course, they would not contribute much to society and community. And the second form of greed is that they, after accumulating uh, the wealth, even they have more money, more wealth to satisfy their needs, uh, uh, to survive, but still they need more for the rest of their life because of that kind of greedy mind. And that's why I say that as much as we have that type of attitude, as much as we have that type of greedy mind, we will not um, uh, have any kind of containment. We would not satisfy with any wealth that we have. Uh, so we never feel that's enough for us. We want to have more and more. Of course, for those billionaires, millionaires, they may leave so much inheritance to their children or grandchildren, and even their children or grandchildren may not use them all, but still they work hard uh, to earn money, to earn the wealth, and they pass those wealth down to their children, grandchildren. Um, that may not think much about other people surrounding us. And that's why some people, we know that like Bill Gates and others, billionaires, they donate their fortune to the poor. And of course, that's the sort of contribution to society and communities instead of accumulating more for themselves. So depend upon our attitude, depend upon our motivations. There's nothing wrong with money. There's nothing wrong with power. The only things we need to concern is how we approach to money, how we approach to the power. If we have the greedy mind, definitely it will be harmful for us. If we approach them with the care for others, for our communities and society, uh, the more we accumulate wealth, the more we share with other people, we can benefit ourselves and others. And the third one is that greed sometimes drive people to do unethical things, immoral things, and illegal things, so that they can pursue to obtain more money. And so we know that there's all kind of problems with this type of greedy mind. So again, that's why we bring our the sufferings, and we create the suffering to other people too. So that's why we need to be careful um, about this type of unwanted desire, unnecessary desire, or the greedy mind. So because of that greedy mind, we create all kind of problems for ourselves and others. Uh, we want to get um, more money, we want to be rich, we want to be powerful. That's why we raise the commerce that, of course, for people, I mean, that the greedy people, at first they may not think much about the commerce, but toward the end, they end up in jail. At that moment, they may even not recognize why they end up here, the jail. But because of the greed that lead them to that kind of destinations. So we heard that due to the greedy mind, we and other people do all kind of unethical, immoral, and illegal things to pursue for money. And especially nowadays, the internet is so prevalent, and there's all kind of scam and fraud that happening to ourselves and others. And actually, it's happened to me recently too. Last month, when I went back to Houston, on the way, I got a phone call from a lady, and she mentioned that my temple uh, would be cut off from electricity. Actually, she said that she called to represent a an electricity companies in Houston. And on that weekend, we have special celebration. And when I heard that, of course, I have to pay attention about what she said. And she said that we have not paid the bill yet. And in 30 minutes, um, the electricity company would cut off the power. And so I follow her, and she said that I need to wire the money by cash and so forth. And she provide even the fake address of that electric companies. Again, it's happened to everyone, to most people nowadays, because of the greedy mind of people, especially we have the advance in communications. We have all kind of social medias for us to communicate with each other. So internet scam and fraud is one of the prevalent one. And this all type of scam like injection uh, or one night scam. Um, Actually, sometimes we get the email from those the scammer that uh, uh, want us to involve in the multi-millions business that they want to cash their transaction, but they need their helps. And of course, they ask us to transfer a small amount of fee for them to cash out those money, but again, get the scam. They want to get the money from us, and of course, their goal is to get the money. Their goal is to control our computer, whether it's our PC, laptop, or Apple laptop, so that they can get into our email, our bank account, and so forth, so that they can get our personal informations and bank account, so that they can take out our money, or control our computers, to spy on our life and so forth. So this all kind of scam that we need to recognize, like advanced fee fraud. They convince the victims to pay the fee to receive some things in value, but they never deliver that kind of promise. Or the foreign lotteries, they may send some email uh, that notify us that we won a large sum of money in the foreign lottery, but we need to send a small transaction fee. But actually, there's no lottery ticket at all. They just want to scam us. They may scam us by advertisement about the working from home. That's the way that most people now they like to do. They want to stay home to work, so that they can stay away from traffic problems, from gasolines, from all kind of hectic that's happening on the street or on the road. That's why they try to scam us with those fake advertisement working from home. And they may ask us to pay money for the kids, for the monthly charge to our credit card. So there's no real job at all. It's just the fake jobs, the kit that they just send to us. Even nowadays, the email is one of the most convenience for the scammer to scam us, especially when they want to get our personal information, like banking account and so forth. They would send some kind of email and ask us to click on that email. Definitely, they embed the malware or the spyware in those email, so that they would lead us to a fake uh, uh, insecure website to get our personal information, a banking account, and so forth. So they want to get our identities, personal informations. That's why now they have what they call identity theft, that would get our personal information to get into our computers, our system, by sending some virus or worms, or spyware or malware that we cannot control of our own computer. Mm. And here, some of those email may include the DHL Express, or UPS Express, FedEx Express, and so forth. So when we click on those email, we will be trapped by those email that would send us to their browser and steal our personal informations. And so even they may have fake the IIS um, uh, letters, not only email, but sometimes they they call us too. But of course, somehow, if we don't pay attention about the email we open, we get hooked with those phishing or scamming, and they may ask us to pay some uh, processing fee for our transaction of hotel, of car, and so forth. Um, or they may wait until we have a nature disaster to scam us, to send the money for the victims. And especially nowadays, we have when virus happening for a couple months already. There's many scam around that send those email to uh, scam us, to trick us to those websites so that we would lose our personal informations. So we have to be careful whenever something happens, especially natural disaster, the virus, and so forth. Uh, so those are the example of those phishing fake email that they send to us, like Osama found, uh, London bomb, tsunami, victim fund, and so forth. So as much as we click on those email, we will get trapped. They will lead us to their own website and steal our personal information. Mm. And the job application, uh, the scareware, all kind of warning, and of course we have to be careful what type of information we receive. Even they may fake our own family members, our own boss, our own school that we study. We have to be careful the source of those email before we click on. Otherwise, we hook up by those scammer. And again, if we have the PayPal account, they may fake the PayPal website. They may fake any legitimate website that try to take our identities so that they can get into our system. So that is what they call phishing email. That's most big companies, schools, business, and so forth remind their workers, students to be careful about those phishing email, and uh, and you have to recognize the danger of those, or even some of them send what we call romance scams. Some bad guy girls try to use online dating or social networking to post attractive pictures, to communicate with people, to gain the victim's confidence so that they could get the money uh, to pay for travel expense, medical expense, or information about the victim. So again, basically the scam tried to get the money from the victim. They based upon the risk of people. They may based upon the loss about people. They may based upon the goodwill, good motivation, good intention of people, especially when some things happening like natural disaster happening. They may scam on good people to send money to help the victim, but actually they get the money for themselves. And they may be based upon the ignorance of people. So anyway, so those are the scam that happen nowadays that we need to pay attention. We have to be careful. If we fall into their trap, we would lose our money. We would lose our jobs, or we may damage our relationship with other people. Of course, the reason why people scam each other because of the greedy mind. Without the greedy mind, they would not do that. If they live an ethical life, if they live a moral life, they would not dare, or they would not want to harm other people. They would not want to scam other people money, trick other people, and so forth. So again, um, with this kind of mentality, the greedy mentality, that's so harmful um, uh, to our body, to our mind, and to our spiritual life. And that's why the Buddha reminds us that as long as we harbor that type of mind, that type of thought, we harm ourselves. We bring our own disaster. We bring our own sufferings. So, of course, in the levels of uh, individuals, as if someone work for the big companies, if someone work for governments, if they harbor that type of greedy mind, they may be corrupted. Uh, they would harm themselves and others. Besides being a scammer, to take money, to take the personal information from other people. So it's just so harmful. It's so dangerous, especially uh, if we don't recognize that type of thought, the greedy thought. We may be corrupted in our life. So let me show you some uh, PowerPoint again. Um, as long as we keep those greedy mind, we may be corrupted. If we work for companies, we work in the governments entities, we may abuse uh, the power for our private gain. We may hurt other people that depend on um, our work, that depend on our company and so forth. Of course, it may be harmful that people would not trust us anymore if we corrupt our own power. That's why one of the sutra, the 42 Section Sutra, the Buddha lists out 20 difficulties. And one of the difficulties is that the Buddha say having power, but if we don't abuse that kind of power, it's pretty hard. It's not easy to abuse the power if we uh, have tremendous power toward other people. So that's why somehow we need to be careful about our state of mind. Like I mentioned before, many young people, when they're still young, they have all kind of inspirations, aspiration to help other people, to help society and communities. They want to change society and communities, but when they climb up to the ladder of the society, for example, if they become leaders of the communities, if they are mayor, governors, even president, if they don't know how to handle their mind, it's easy for them to abuse their power. That's why in this country, uh, our, our governments, uh, actually our constitution uh, desires three independence branches uh, that uh, control each other instead of letting one has too much power. For example, the Congress have the power to impeach the president. The president have the power to apply the rules and authorities, and so forth. So without some kind of controlling, um, it's easy for people to abuse the power. So basically, what we call about corruptions is the misuse of public power and resource for private gain, not only in the government entirety, but also in any business. If they work for some business, but they abuse their powers as a manager, a supervisor, they take out the company monies, they misuse the company resources, yeah, they may be sued. They have to pay for the price later on. And so these are the example of public resources like money, good, cars, building, pension fund, medical aid, funds, and so forth. In politics, they list out the two main types of corruption, what they call the petty corruption, the state capture. So it includes bribery, embezzlement, theft, fraud, extortion, abuse of power, and so forth. So petty corruption, that means the corruption uh, related to um, misuse the power in a small scale on the low level, but the rent corruption does lead to the big scale on the high level of the government of the companies, like the political corruption. They want to win elections, so that's why they try to bribe um, the voters by offering money, wealth, position, and so forth. Even they may kidnap and murder uh, other people parties that create the violence or injustice. And again, because of the greedy mind of uh, attaching to certain type of power or wealth, they may bribe other people in government, in business, especially here in this in government. And the cause of corruptions may come from lack of effective leadership, lack of public support, lack of proper system, uh, lack of autonomy, lack of effective management. Uh, so the consequence of the corruption that may damage the national wealth, um, and the authority and the power in the wrong hand, it may create the poverty in society, communities. It may bring the rise to terrorism and crimes. It may create psychological and social disorder if someone in government are corrupted with those power. So again, the common characteristics of corruptions, it create the gap between group and individual interests. They try to take advantage of other people through bribery. So two or more parties uh, um, may take advantage on other people, other parties to benefit themselves, uh, to misuse the power uh, with the intent to take advantage of their own position, uh, to bring their own benefit. Uh, so again, with uh, corruption, it may obstruct the social and economic developments and increase poverty. And we see that especially in some third world countries, there's all kind of corruptions. That's why the people who work in government, they earn more incomes, or they are more richer than the common people due to their corruption in politics, in government, and they may weaken the education and health system, and they may deprive the mm, light of the right of people, their own people, and they may undermine the democracy by destroying the electrical or electoral process and undermine government institutions and so forth. Again, those type of uh, corruptions come from the greedy mind, uh, the unnecessary desire that try to grasp the power by abusing their authorities, by abusing their power, uh, by bribing other people so that they can maintain their position, so that they can take advantage on other people, so that they can enjoy life, and may not pay attention much about the sentiment, may not pay attention much about the suffering that their people are enduring. So it's time up now. Let me stop here today, and next time I will discuss more about this topic, uh, especially uh, the greedy mind that we need to pay attention. Nam mô Shakya Muni Buddha. And see you then.